You've tried to hold the world together, but it slipped through your fingers. So now what's left? You sit in the aftermath surrounded by noise, demands, expectations, 1,000 voices pulling at your soul, and none of them sound like you. This is where most people break, because when the illusion of control shatters, they go looking for a savior, a distraction, anything to numb the silence. But you're here to build something else. Not a kingdom, not a throne, but a fortress. It starts with a decision to stop chasing what you can't command and to turn inward, where the real battle has always been. Because out here, everything is chaos. Markets crash, people lie, storms arrive without warning. But in here, you are the architect, you are the guardian, and every thought you allow, every fear you entertain, every belief you cling to becomes a brick. Your mind is a fortress. But most people leave the gates wide open. They don't defend it. They don't patrol the walls. So opinions invade, doubt spreads like a rot, and before they know it, their thoughts are no longer their own. Every scroll, every headline, every jealous glance on social media becomes a Trojan horse, and the enemy doesn't need to burn your castle down if they can just whisper inside your walls. They told you to take charge, to go out and conquer the world, to hustle harder, speak louder, dominate. And so you did. You chased promotions, approval, the perfect partner, gripped tightly to every moving part, convinced that if you just held on tight enough, everything would fall into place, but it didn't. The truth is, the world doesn't listen. It doesn't obey your timing. It doesn't care about your deadlines, your fears, or your dreams. It just keeps turning on its own axis, cold, relentless, and blind. And one by one, the pieces you thought you controlled started slipping through your fingers. So you tried harder, tighter grip, more pressure, until your hands bled from holding on to things that were never yours to command. And in that breakdown, a realization whispered from the dark. Control was never out there. It was never yours to begin with. We are raised to believe that control means power. But the more you try to control the outside, people, outcomes, circumstances, the more powerless you become. You become a slave to their reaction. A puppet pulled by strings you can't even see to cancel the deal. She doesn't text back. The traffic jams. The storm hits. And suddenly you feel like you're re-losing your mind over a world that never promised to bow to your will. They don't come in shouting. Fear, anger, anxiety. No, they slip in quietly. A thought, a doubt, a memory you swore you buried. The enemy doesn't always wear a face. Sometimes it is your face. The part of you that flinches before the blow ever lands. The voice that says, you're not ready, you're not enough. You'll never make it through this. We guard our homes with locks. We protect our money with passwords. But who guards the mind? Most don't. They leave the gate open, wide. And so the enemy walks in, not with a sword, but with suggestions. They're talking about you. You should be ashamed. And just like that, you're at war. Not with the world, but with yourself. Marcus Aurelius understood this. He ruled during plague and war, betrayal, yet he wrote with calm, ruthless clarity, because he knew the battlefield was the mind, and the true enemy is never out there. It's how you react. They say life is what happens to you, but the truth is darker. Life is how you interpret what happens to you. Events don't carry meaning, they just are. A betrayal, a rejection, a door slammed shut. These are facts. Cold, empty. Until you assign them a narrative. They wronged me. Why does this always happen to me? And with that, you've handed them power. Not because of the event, but because of the story you told yourself about it. Marcus Aurelius understood this. He watched cities burn. He buried children. He was betrayed by blood. But instead of collapsing, he asked, what is this here to teach me? That question changes everything. A storm doesn't ask permission. It comes. It wrecks. It leaves. You can curse the clouds, or you can learn to sail in the rain. Pain is not the problem. Your perception of it is. We've been trained to run from discomfort, to label it as punishment, as failure, as proof that something has gone wrong. But the Stoic sees deeper. He asks, what is this obstacle revealing in me? What weakness is being exposed? What truth have I been avoiding? Every challenge is a mirror, not of the world, but of you. It reflects your fears, your fragility, your rage, and until you confront that image, you'll keep blaming the mirror for what's staring back. You lost your job. Good. Now you learn who you are without a title. They betrayed you. Fine, now you understand where blind trust leads. You failed publicly. Perfect. Now let's see if your identity was built on applause or something deeper. Life is not here to comfort you. It is here to shape you. But only if you stop interpreting every blow as a curse and reframe it with purpose. How does this make me smarter, stronger, more dangerous in the face of chaos? Because that's what obstacles are. Unrequested training. Customized challenges designed to break the parts of you that were never meant to last. The mind wants to react. It wants to label things, categorize them. This is bad, this is unfair, this shouldn't be happening. But Marcus would say, stop, look again. The event is neutral. It's you who brought the poison. You're not here to control the external. You're here to master the internal. When you look at adversity not as an attack, but as an invitation, you begin to see what others miss. The pain is a guide. The loss is a lesson. The delay is preparation. The universe is not against you, it's just not interested in your comfort. It's interested in your revival. So when life strikes, don't just survive. Study the hit, translate the pain, extract the wisdom, and move forward with more clarity than ever before. Because those who suffer consciously rise with something unteachable: perspective, resilience, power. The mirror is always there, and what you see will either chain you or free you. The choice, as always, is yours. The moment hits that look, that word, that betrayal, and before you even think, you react. Your voice rises, your hands tighten, your mind floods with heat. But in that split second, you've already lost, because the world knows. If it can control your reaction, it owns your power. Anger feels righteous, fear feels urgent, outrage feels real. But Marcus Aurelius knew better. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That wasn't poetry. It was war strategy. Because the battlefield isn't out there, it's in here. Cold fire. That's what the Stoics practiced. Not the absence of emotion, but the mastery of it. They felt deeply, but they didn't flinch. That's the art: to burn without losing form, to bleed without losing clarity, to be wounded and still speak softly. Reaction is the enemy. It's fast, impulsive, messy. Reaction betrays your training. It exposes your weak points. It lets the enemy know. Push here, they'll break. But response is a different beast. It waits, it watches, it moves only when the ground is stable. The greatest warriors don't draw their sword first. They let you swing. They absorb the chaos and respond with precision. Stillness is not passive, it's strategic. It's a pause so you can strike deeper, colder, cleaner. We live in a world that wants a reaction. Social media wants you outraged. Politicians want you divided. Your enemies want you emotional. Why? Because when you react, you're not thinking. You're not strategizing. You're not choosing. You're just an exposed nerve, twitching on command. Cold fire does not twitch. Cold fire stands in the storm and waits. No yelling, no panic, no breakdown. Just eyes watching everything. Just the mind asking, what's the move that puts me back in control? Detachment is not weakness. It's not numbness. It's the highest form of awareness. You feel the fire, but you don't become it. That's strength. That's control. And in a world ruled by impulse, stillness becomes a superpower. You will be tested, provoked, mocked. But remember, the loudest man in the room is the easiest to predict. Be silent. Be cold. Be ready. Let others chase the illusion of power. You hold the real thing, because the one who remains calm while the room burns wins. You don't need to react. You need to respond. And when you do it with ice in your veins. Not because you're cruel, but because you're untouchable. There is power in being unfazed. When everyone is losing their mind, when chaos threatens to consume all, there is a strange tranquility in being unmoved. This is not a call for apathy or indifference. Rather, it's an invitation to cultivate a deep inner peace that remains untouched by the storms around us. The Stoics weren't unfeeling. They felt the full spectrum of human emotions, but they recognized that these feelings, while powerful, should not dictate our actions. In a world that often feels out of control, this kind of inner calm can be a source of strength and clarity. It allows us to navigate through life's challenges with steadiness and purpose, knowing that our true power lies in our ability to remain centered amidst the chaos. But how do we achieve this? How do we cultivate a sense of inner calm that is impervious to external disturbances? It starts with self. It's about recognizing our emotional triggers, understanding the root causes of our reactions, and acknowledging the stories we tell ourselves that fuel our agitation. Once we become aware of these patterns, we can begin to challenge them. We can question the validity of our thoughts, the necessity of our reactions, and the stories we've constructed that intensify our emotional turmoil. Through this process of self-reflection and challenge, we can gradually transform our relationship with our emotions. Instead of being tossed about by every passing wind of feeling, we can choose how and when to engage with the world around us. We can become the authors of our own narratives, shaping our experiences and reactions according to our values and goals. Remember, it's not about suppressing emotions or adopting a callous demeanor. It's about mastering our responses, not being controlled by them. As Marcus Aurelius wisely wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. By harnessing this power, we can discover a new level of inner strength and resilience that enables us to thrive even in the face of adversity. There is a place no one can invade. No army, no tyrant, no manipulator. It is the last true kingdom, your mind. And if you do not rule it, it will be ruled by someone else. You've fought the battles. You've endured the storms. You've faced the inner enemies, fear, reaction, doubt. Now what? You build, not a castle, not a brand, a mental empire. An empire that doesn't need walls because it cannot be breached. An empire where you are the ruler, not your emotions, not your past, not the world's chaos. Marcus Aurelius ruled the greatest empire on earth. But his true kingdom was unseen, the domain of thought. He knew that kingdoms fall, but character remains. He wrote in private what few ever dared to say in public. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. He wasn't writing for fame, he was writing for survival. Because when the world burns, all you have left is your mind. You think your thoughts are just noise? They are commands. Orders issued to every cell in your body. Blueprints for your actions. Seeds of your destiny. Think small, you move small. Think fear, you freeze. Think clarity, and mountains shift. The mental empire isn't loud, it doesn't brag. It doesn't need to convince anyone. It just knows. You walk into a room quiet, sharp, controlled. Not because you dominate others, but because you've already dominated yourself. You don't need approval. You don't need applause. You sit with discomfort. You tolerate silence. You can watch chaos without becoming it. That is power. But empires don't build themselves. You must sit at the throne daily. Audit your thoughts. Where do they go when no one's watching? Do they spiral? Do they shrink you? Do they serve you or enslave you? Because most people, they're ruled by ghosts, by old wounds, by untrained emotion. But you train in silence. You sharpen the blade of attention. You clean out the rot. And what's left? A throne no one else can sit on. You've felt the war. You've stood at the wall. You've seen the gate break. And you didn't flinch. Now you don't just survive. You lead. Not nations. Not companies. You lead the only thing that truly matters. No one gave you the crown. You earned it. Through suffering. Through stillness. Through savage soul. Now you sit in the center of your mental empire.com/ruthless unshaken, the final victory. When the storm rages louder and you say nothing. Because true kings don't shout. They don't beg. They don't chase. They build from within. You've made it to the end, but this is not the end. This is your beginning. The moment you stop consuming life and start commanding it. The world is loud, chaotic, full of noise and fear. But those who rise, those who lead, don't follow the storm. They become the calm. So, if this spoke to you, if some part of your soul woke up during this journey, don't let it fall back asleep. Subscribe, not just to this channel, but to your inner war. Comment below. What wall are you breaking through? Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Someone lost in reaction, ready for clarity. This isn't just motivation. This is mental warfare. And this channel is your training ground, because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more empire. So go, not to escape life, but to face it with the fire of a mind unbroken. This is your inner citadel. Welcome home.